And now, you just crossed over into the Logan Zone. From ECU Pirate football to the whole college landscape to basically anything else that's on his mind, Coach Steve Logan's talking about it now.
You don't coach at East Carolina. You don't come to East Carolina. You don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart.
Tweet at Steve Logan Show with your takes or call 252-561-GAME for your spot in the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. Now, here's Steve Logan.
Welcome in to the Logan Zone, Week 5 edition here of the 2025 season, as we get set to bring you some talk about East Carolina as well as the Panthers. We will be joined by Jim Zoki at the top of the 6 o'clock hour. However, between now and then, we will be taking your calls at 252-561-4263. And one of our sponsors for this show is Bojangles. Bojangles is at Bojangles, football season is tailgate season. And again this year, Bojangles is a proud partner of ECU Athletics to celebrate Pirate football. No matter where you are on game day, pick up your Bojangles tailgate box with all the chicken fixins, buttermilk biscuits, fresh brewed tea hungry fans want. Remember this, Pirate Nation, when you want to step up your game day festivities, it's Bo time. And reminder that the best caller will get an 8-piece tailgate box from Bojangles. So, once again, that line is 252-561-4263. But for now, we are going to kick it over to the host of the Logan Zone, Coach Steve Logan. How's it going, Coach?
Doing well. So, normally we kick these shows off, Philip, and we look ahead. We got a new game. We got a game coming up in 24 hours or whatever the case may be, coming up tomorrow night. Another, as usual, big game they call it. It's a big game, and it is. But this last week, the East Carolina BYU game and the North Carolina State Duke game. I'm watching these games and kind of jotting down some notes for this show, and watching both teams perform. And there were 2 football plays, one play in each game that turned both of those games on a dime. And let's let's go ahead and reference the football plays, and then I want to get into the anatomy of a football play and the responsibilities and dynamics of calling plays. And, I was a play caller for well over 30 years. And so we're gonna get into this. I'll drop what I'm doing at any time. Like right now, I'm gonna drop what I'm getting into, and we'll take any calls you want to bring in. We've got a caller immediately. And Kevin is on the line right now. So, Kevin, you're in the Logan Zone. What do you got, man?
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Kevin.
So, you've had some experience dealing with Army. I was reading up, and I was actually reading that the Army triple option and Navy triple option are actually a little different. What are the differences between the two, and why are they so hard to defend?
The difference between Army's triple option and whose?
Navy's.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because as I was going to get into, and Kevin, I appreciate the call, and when I was getting ready for this show, jotting down some notes, I coached the wishbone at the University of Colorado. I was a running back coach. I ran the wishbone at the junior college level. And of course, in high school, it was all over the place as a high school player. I'm intimate with the wishbone. I understand the complexities of it. I know how to coach it. I've installed it. I've run it. And just when I pulled up the Army wishbone, I noticed immediately, and I assure you that the East Carolina defensive coaches noticed this too, and it may be maybe Coach Harrell or one of the defensive coaches at a press conference mentioned something like this as what prompted your call. Army I wish I had a chalkboard, but let me just say this. In a basic wishbone, wishbone 101, the quarterback, let's say he steps to his right, and the fullback takes an angle toward the outside hip of the right offensive guard, okay? And that's the angle of the fullback. And then the rest of the play unfolds. The quarterback is going to decide whether to give the football to the fullback or keep it, depending upon what the first player outside of the offensive tackle's shoulder pad does. So if he doesn't close, you give the ball to the fullback. If he does close, you disconnect and you travel on down the line of scrimmage to the next unblocked player, which is a defensive end or an outside linebacker, and you then proceed to either keep the ball or pitch the ball. So there's an illustration of what the basic wishbone does, and this is what Navy is doing. What Army has done, and I don't think they were doing this last year, but I didn't, this jumped off the screen at me when I watched the Kansas State game replay just yesterday. Army is running a midline mesh. What does that mean? That means the blocking scheme is basically the same up front. The offensive line is going to leave two people unblocked on the line of scrimmage. The first player outside of the offensive tackle's shoulder pad, and the next player outside of him. That's all the same. What's different is Army is now meshing that ride of the fullback up into the line of scrimmage. Army is riding the fullback up into the line of scrimmage almost directly over the center's tail. I mean, it's called a mid-line mesh. It's very, very, very tight. And this creates a different dynamic for the unblocked players. Now, normally the wishbone will hurt a defense with, number one, the fullback. When you don't tackle the fullback and the ball's handed off, it'll gash a defense. That's number one. The next way that a wishbone offense will hurt a defense is with the quarterback keep. So the quarterback watches your defensive end or your defensive tackle. He disconnects the football because your defensive tackle is taking the fullback, and down the line of scrimmage the quarterback comes, and now he's attacking your outside linebacker defensive end. And normally what happens now is the quarterback will cut up inside, and that's where the damage takes place. The quarterback keeps the football, okay? Because that outside linebacker is in conflict. Do I take the quarterback or do I take the pitch? What this has done by tightening up the mesh point, okay, and I know this is technical for radio talk, but you asked the question and I'm answering it. You got to really follow along with me now. What happened what happened in the Kansas State game when Army tightened up that mesh point and the fullback is going directly over the center, the reaction of the defensive tackle, he has to come down so hard to make the hit on the fullback. It's an easy read for the quarterback. So he gets an immediate disconnect read, and in a step and a half, he's almost on top of the outside linebacker who's responsible for the quarterback. And so let me back up. What did I say damages defenses the most in the wishbone? A, the fullback. B, the quarterback. And last of all, the least amount of damage usually comes on a pitched ball to the halfback. Okay? That's usually the order of damage. Against Kansas State, with this new midline option, I watched the ball get pitched over and over and over and over, and that's the reason why. It was because of this midline mesh that Army has incorporated into their triple option. It changes a lot of the dynamics, and it changes the reactions of some of the defensive football players. So the pitch play is what damaged Kansas State, which is not the norm. And I'm telling you why it happened. It's because Army has redesigned their triple option, and it's got some very subtle but very meaningful dynamics to the way that the defense has to play. And on top of that, Army is running their triple option, not all the time, but they're running their triple option without a split end. So they're basically running two tights, three backs in the backfield in some form or fashion. They may motion the running back in. They may be on the wings. It doesn't matter. It's a three-back offense. And so the point is that with a midline mesh and reduced splits. It doesn't look like Army's splits are the same. It looks like their offensive line splits are tighter, and it just suddenly it's creating pitch play opportunities that are different, but very, very significant reactions from the defense. And so, Army, they were upset with the Tarleton State football game, which I watched that game from beginning to end, and the officials took that game away from Army. That was an Army win, without question. That was a win. The Kansas State game was a big win, and Army controlled the football game against Kansas State in true wishbone fashion. They did. And then the North Texas game, Army fumbled uncharacteristically early in the game, fell behind, and North Texas State did the right thing. And again, people that have listened to me babble on the radio know my theory about playing the service academies. It's all about knowing the personnel. And the weakest part of any service academy team is invariably, always, fundamentally, the corners. You've got to throw the ball deep on the outside of service academy defenses. They are primarily single high coverage teams because they like to have an extra man down in the box to stop the run because they do not have disruptive defensive linemen normally. They don't. They're very cohesive on the defensive side of the ball as they are on the offensive side of the ball. They don't make mistakes. But you can literally, this is backyard football. You can literally line up and have good reason to call takeoff routes, go routes on the outside of your offense, spread your offense out. You got a wide receiver to the right, wide receiver to the left, slot to the left, one back, tight end, here we go. And you should be calling a lot of what we call 4 vertical football plays that put the defensive backs, the corners in particular, for the service academies, cannot normally run with the athletes that anybody in the American Conference should have available to them at wide receiver. And I know East Carolina's got some really fast wide receivers, just like Memphis and Tulane and everybody else in that conference. And North Texas. North Texas has got a bunch of East Texas football kids. I know them intimately from coaching at the University of Tulsa. I know exactly what they look like and their attributes and their capabilities to play the wide receiver position, and they can run like the wind. Okay, so guess what? North Texas, they're throwing the football. And they had to go to overtime, and they found a way to win the game. So anyway, that was a long answer to your question of the difference, okay, between what Army's doing and what Navy's doing. It's subtle, but it's having an impact. And I'm kind of excited to turn on some more Army film and go back and watch some Navy film. And because I know these wishbone teams, when I was coaching at the University of Colorado, the wishbone coaches talk to the wishbone coaches, and you share your information to help each other. That's what the coaching fraternity kind of does. It's not like most industries where you try to keep your secrets to yourself. Coaches are famous for sharing their information and moving the game forward. So anyway, there's all of that. So, Philip, how much time did we burn there? 13? How much time we got before we got a break?
We can. It's up to you, because if you're going to go from pivot from one topic to another, you want us to take a break now so we don't have to take a break during the next topic?
Yeah. Let's take a break, and then
right.
When we come back, I'm going to really get into the anatomy of a play call, how it travels from the staff room, onto the game plan, into the press box, onto the headsets, down to the quarterback, and all the unbelievable things that may or may not happen. This is Logan Zone. We'll be right back.
At CCS Equipment Sales, we're proud to be your one-stop certified Takeuchi construction equipment dealer. Our knowledgeable staff is dedicated to building lasting relationships by providing solutions to your needs for new or used equipment, rentals, parts, and service. Our inventory includes Takeuchi excavators, track loaders, wheel loaders, along with a wide range of attachment options. In Ayden, Angier, or Youngsville, or check us out online at ccsequipment.com. And remember, at CCS Equipment, we believe we succeed when you succeed.
It's bow time. Fumble in the food on game day? Rookie move. But you know Bo can make your tailgate a winner, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Because the Carolina Legend has everything you're craving. We're talking crispy, juicy chicken loaded with real Southern flavor, fluffy, scratch-made buttermilk biscuits, and all the fixins to feed your whole crew faster than you can say touchdown. Be the MVP this season and let Bojangles do the cooking. Order your tailgate today. It's Bo time.
Hey folks, Coach Logan here. Did you know that one of the top-rated insurance agencies in the country has been operating right here in our backyard since 1952? Snipes Insurance was just awarded a 2025 Best Practices designation, one of only 16 in North Carolina to receive this honor. Director of Benefits and Pirate alum Lewis Gale lives right here in Greenville. They also have a dedicated commercial and agricultural department. Check them out at snipesinsurance.com or email Lewis at snipesinsurance.com.
Greenville Utilities customers should be proud to know that their electric, natural gas, water, and wastewater utilities are owned by the community. That means decisions are made locally, not in some other city or state. It means the utilities are run in the best interest of the community, not to make profits for out-of-state shareholders. It means reliability is high while rates remain low. Greenville Utilities, safely providing reliable utility solutions for the Greenville region since 1905.
Anson Belt & Buckle offers a micro-adjustable, holeless belt, giving you the perfect fit every time. As an ECU alumni-owned business since 2009, Anson Belt is proud to be the official belt of East Carolina Athletics. Looking for a new belt for yourself or a special pirate? Visit AnsonBelt.com to see why over 30,000 customers have given their Anson Belt a 5-star review. With dozens of materials to choose from and thousands of possible combinations, you'll find the belt for every occasion, especially game day. At AnsonBelt.com.
Meet the Kawasaki Nav, our first ever personal transportation vehicle designed for cruising the good life. The Kawasaki Nav 4E puts the fun in functional, with a premium, sporty design and comfort for the whole family. Fully electric and loaded with storage, modern tech and more, the Kawasaki Nav won't just wow you, it'll wow the neighbors. Be the first to nav the neighborhood. Visit Ron Ayers Motorsports, north of the airport on Memorial Drive, Greenville.
It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's Kids Night at Moore's Barbecue. Let us take care of dinner tonight for your little ones. Every Wednesday night, kids 10 and under eat free with the purchase of an adult meal. So come into one of our 5 locations in Winterville, New Bern, Morehead City, Swansboro, and Jacksonville. Bring the whole family. There's always enough great food for everyone. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
At Parker's Barbecue, our family has been serving your family for 3 generations.
For that, we say thank you.
Blessing families every Thursday. Kids eat free all day. That's the Parker's way.
Legendary food served from our 3 locations. Always quick, always delicious. That's the Parker's way.
At Parker's, our mission is to impact our customers through Christ-like service in a way that feeds them both physically and spiritually. That is the Parker's way.
Medlin Chevrolet is your trusted Ayden dealership. Medlin Chevrolet has made their home in Ayden, serving Pitt, Lenoir, and surrounding areas for 7 years. We're growing. Now under construction is our brand new service facility to serve you even better. Try our service department for your work trucks, fleet, and personal vehicles, and you'll be with us for life. Our staff are courteous, service-minded professionals that answer the phones themselves and walk you through your purchase or service journey. Find the perfect vehicle for your lifestyle today at Medlin Chevrolet, Monday through Saturday, Highway 11, Ayden.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Welcome back into the Logan Zone. Even though Greenville Utilities has a reliability rate of 99.99%, sometimes outages happen. Just like in football, you need a plan for what to do just in case. Right now, grab your cell phone, open the contacts list, and add GUC's emergency hotline as a contact. Here's the number to use, 1-855-767-2482. That's 855-SOS2-GUC. plan on using that instead of fumbling around looking for the number when the lights go out. Now we're going to toss it back over to Coach Logan, and we have a caller on the line, and the caller is Richard.
Hey, Richard, you're in the Logan Zone. What you got going, man?
Hello, Coach. It's a thrill to talk to you. You're certainly one of North Carolina's treasures for all of us football fans. I'm over here in Hillsboro, and I'm a Carolina fan, and I've been sucked into the orbit of the Bill Belichick experience.
Yes, you have.
Last summer, before all this really got going, one of our local football experts recommended that I read Bill Belichick's father's book on scouting methods for scouting football players. And I got that book. I really enjoyed it, and it made me wonder if you have a particular book or books that you would recommend to football fans who, I've never played tackle football, organized tackle football. I really enjoy it, and I've learned a lot about it, but I wonder if there's a book that you would recommend that would help me move along to becoming more knowledgeable about what I'm watching.
Yes. Right behind me in my little man cave here in Raleigh, North Carolina, if you happen to be watching on YouTube, right behind me is a bookshelf and some of my memorabilia, football, special victories, trophies, whatever. And there is a book back there that was biblical to me and most of the coaches in my generation, and it was written by Bill Walsh, who basically is credited with inventing the short passing game built on run after the catch, which is the essence of West Coast football. You've heard that term your whole life, and very few people know what that term really means, but I gave you part of the definition. West Coast football is built on throwing the ball on time, throwing it short to intermediate, and then running after the catch. Okay, so it's a high completion percentage idea, which was revolutionary in 1982, 83, 84, when Coach Walsh began to express these ideas successfully, winning Super Bowls in the National Football League. But the name of the book is called The Winning Edge. The Winning Edge by Bill Walsh. So this book, if you're a novice football fan, you could glean tons of information that would be entertaining and informative to you. If you're a football coach, heavily invested in making your living as a football coach, as I was, there is so much profound wisdom, ideas on how to handle individual people, collective teams, locker room management, detailed practices, why you practice what you practice, the way you practice what you practice, in detail. And again, it was biblical to me. And if I went and pulled that book off the bookshelf, it's right behind me as we speak. I would pull that book out, and you know how you take a yellow highlighter and highlight the important points? That entire book is highlighted. When I was I grabbed a hold of that book. I believe I was at the University of Tulsa in 1984, my last year at the University of Tulsa, and this is when the West Coast offense was beginning to explode, and I wanted to throw the football, in the entire, football world at the time in 1984 at the collegiate level. Nobody was throwing the football. Everybody was running, some sort of option, and I was too. I was in a split back veer offense, and a lot of people don't even know what that is because it was a style of offense that was popular for 6-7 years, from let's say 1980 to 85-6, and then it faded out because the one-back offense began to emerge. It began to blossom out of a split-back veer offense, which was two backs, one tight end, and two wide receivers. Okay, but that formation alone is what allowed Steve Logan in my little private journey at the age of 26 or 7. That formation, it wasn't the wishbone. It had some spread to it. You got a split end to the left, a flanker to the right, you got a tight end, you got 2 running backs. Well, now you can protect the passer in various ways. You can release your running backs, and all of this is the beginning of the West Coast offense. But Bill Walsh, invented it. I mean, all of this stuff is collective from the standpoint of there's all kinds of coaches tinkering, and you're stealing stuff from other people's films. But Walsh had a system, and that book, The Winning Edge, that's the book that I would recommend to you. And all of those kinds of books that are written by the Belichick books are they're valuable. And if you're a young coach, you're crazy not reading that stuff, because you're looking at a collective experience. Coach Walsh wrote his books after he got out of the NFL, and they are just incredible documents on how to attempt to win a football game and run a program. So there you go. All right. So we started the show, and I'm going to get into this, the anatomy of a play call, because as I referenced to begin the show, the elephant in the room, and let's talk about it. We're on the radio, and this is not a roadkill radio show. As I've mentioned a million times, I'm not trying to get a coach fired, a player put on the bench, none of that other monkey business that most talk radio shows do. That's not the idea here. The idea here is to do kind of what you're talking about, Richard, and that's, the game of football. Let's investigate, let's peel the onion back and see what's really happening, and let's be a teacher and not, a dumb jock, so to speak. All right, so the football play with the BYU East Carolina game, there's 58 seconds left on the clock. The ball's on the -1 yard line. You're in a 6-3 football game. And so here's the thing we're going to get into. We're going to start talking about play calling now. Because what happened at East Carolina, an interception was thrown, and it was a pick six immediately, and that game flipped on its head the moment that happened. And East Carolina had another little run at it maybe in the second half, but really the deed was done. It was catastrophic, and that's just, I'm not being critical. I'm being pragmatic. That's what happened. Okay, so let's go back and let's look at, how did that happen? How did that happen? All right, play calling. I'm going to tell a couple of war stories here, so you're just going to have to bear with me, because, it's going to sound like, well, Logan's being dramatic. Well, I'm not being dramatic. I'm being real. Play calling can make or break a football game. It can make or break your season. It can make or break contracts that get you fired, hired. It is dramatic. A play call can bring together a locker room and move you on down the road to a fantastic season, or it can infect a locker room with blame and a cancer and a toxicity that can take place. It is dramatic, okay? So here we are. Here's what happened. A call was made at the -1, an interception is thrown. And so immediately everybody says, well, why was that call made? Well, the call was made according to the quarterback and the offensive coordinator, and it makes perfect sense. This particular call had an option to throw the football attached to a running play. It was an RPO. Okay? That's all fine and good. That's all fine and good. I assure you that the play caller had no inkling that the quarterback may take that football and throw it because of the situation that everybody was in. You're on the -1 yard line. It's a 6-3 game, and let's just get out of this thing. Okay, so hold all that. What happened, happened. And you can debate it, and everybody can get upset. But here's what I want to talk about. when you're making a game plan, all right, and I want to preface all this. I'm not a genius. I was telling my wife the other day when all of this happened, and the same kind of thing happened to North Carolina State. And that's the reason I went ahead and I'm talking about it on the radio, where normally I would kind of avoid this situational talk because I'm not casting blame. Okay? I've called plays for too many years. I started calling plays as a junior high football coach. And then I called plays at the big time high school level in Oklahoma on the defensive side of the football. I went to the division. I went to coach the tight ends at Oklahoma State. I did not call the plays. Suddenly, I'm a junior college head football coach. I called all the plays for 2 years. I went from there as the offensive coordinator at the University of Tulsa, called the plays there for 2 years, called the plays at Mississippi State, called the plays at East Carolina, called the plays in NFL Europe, called the plays, heavily involved in the play calling at the San Francisco 49ers. So I've gone all the way from the bottom to the top with this thing and the responsibilities thereof. But let's just talk about situational football. When you're building a game plan, you have to have, this is right in the Winning Edge book from Bill Walsh, by the way, Richard, okay? You have to have a contingency plan for everything. Everything, all right? So I got a player at the head coach's door. This is just like coaching, okay? Everybody hold that thought. We have a caller on the line, and that would be Jim. I'm going to entertain Jim here, and then we're going to weave all this together eventually. So, Jim, what do you got?
Hey, Steve. This is Jim from Atlanta. I'm a big fan. Philip, Steve, those are my boys. Anyways, it's bow time, and I got an A-piece calling my name right now, so I got something for you.
Okay.
All right. Remember the good old days of ECU when there was Ernest Biner, Tony Baker, Walter Wilson, Luke Fisher, Travis Hunter, Kevin Ingram. I mean, those are my boys. We got Ronald Scott, James Freer, Jimmy Addison, Wayne Poole. I mean, those were the good old days. We also had Jeff Blake. I mean, he was great. Robert Jones, George Kuntz. I mean, Jim from Atlanta
and
here.
What's your question?
Those are my boys.
What is
Larry
your
Shannon,
whoa,
Mitch Galloway,
what's your question?
Morris Foreman, Emmanuel
Okay,
McDaniel.
Go ahead and cut this guy off, okay? So,
all right.
Yeah, there were a lot of good players, and I appreciate you calling in, Jim, but you got to do better than that. You just got cut from the squad there, buddy, okay? So if you're going to come in the Logan Zone, you got to bring some attribute, and you've got to be intelligent about the approach. Like I say, this ain't roadkill radio, so there's that. And I've never been that rude to a caller in my life. But anyway, there's a first time for everything, kind of like play calling. So anyway, back to play calling. You have to have a contingency plan for everything. So let's talk about being on the -1 yard line, okay? Down through the years, I learned through some mistakes, kind of like what happened in the East Carolina and the North Carolina State game, okay, that there are moments where you have to take every possible thing that could happen out of the equation, all right? So, the -1 yard line. Again, I'm in what's left of my coach's office is right behind me. I could go pull out a game plan right now, and I can tell you on the bottom left-hand corner of page 2 of my game plan is what's called the coming out offense. Coming out of offense, what is that? The coming out offense is a plan that you've got to put in place, okay, that gives you a plan for getting the football off of the goal line. Now, what's your first objective when you're on the -1 yard line? It's to gain 3 yards. That is your objective. Why 3? Because if you're on the -1, you gain 3. Now you got 14 yards to the back of the end zone, and you can now successfully operate a spread punt. So, objective 1, okay? Objective 1, get 3 yards. Objective 2, get a first down. So that's your coming out philosophy. This is non-negotiable. And this is what you've taught your players. Now, let's go on. Well, that's a good idea. What are you going to do about it? Well, here's what you do about it. You take all of the what-ifs and contingencies out of the player's hands. And in the way that I was taught and the way that I taught my football team, okay, we had a set of 3 football plays, 3 run plays, and 2 pass plays. 3 run plays and 2 pass plays that we practiced in training camp, and we practiced them every Friday when you're going through your kind of polish type drill where you do on Fridays before a Saturday football game. I would take the offense and we would have a vertical field presentation, really with no defense on the field. Okay, so let's go back to the -1 yard line. We would practice these 3 run plays. Here's what those 3 run plays had in common. Number 1, they always had at least 1 tight end, maybe 2, to make sure that we weren't going to get hit off the edge because we were damn sure going to hand the football off. Number 1. So number 2, all right, we were going to hand the football off. Here, what else could go wrong? Well, what could go wrong is the snap count. When we were in the coming out offense, as well as goal line offense, let's go all the way down to vertical end of the field, all the way down to the +2 yard line. We never, and the quarterback was coached, the entire football team knew, we never changed the snap count coming out. We could not afford an illegal procedure. We never changed the snap count going in. We could not deal with an illegal procedure. Okay? So we're going to eliminate the chance of getting hit off the edge by formation. We're going to eliminate any illegal procedures with snap count. Okay? Everybody knew what personnel that we were going to be in. These were repeated every Friday. We ran those 3 football plays that were designed to get us off the goal line and gain 3 yards to get us at least the opportunity to spread punt. And hopefully a first down. Okay? So there were 3 run plays. I also had 2 pass plays. 2 pass plays. These pass plays were designed to be able to be thrown against any coverage. I didn't care if it was cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, cover 5, cover 6, man free, trap, zone, it didn't matter. Blitz, 0 blitz, didn't matter. You could snap this ball and get the ball out of the quarterback's hands, and there were a couple of rules involved with these 2 pass plays that I had. No out-breaking routes were involved. They weren't even drawn into the play. They were in-breaking routes. In-breaking routes only. Okay? Now, there was danger with an in-breaking route from the standpoint of a slant route, a glance route could get tipped up and intercepted. I understood that. But I was willing to deal with that because there's ways to coach a quarterback in throwing a glance or a slant route where you actually keep the ball down into the receiver's chest as opposed to up in his hands. And you practice this diligently. No outbreaking routes coming out. Done deal. Okay. Number 2, only in-breaking routes. So the point is we had 3 runs, 2 passes in our coming out offense vertical game plan that were rehearsed until everybody knew them by memory. There were no snap count issues. There were no personnel issues. There was no motion involved. I never put anybody in motion. Never put anybody in motion coming out. It was a static presentation, and it was a right-handed call only. We didn't flip the play right and left. It was right-handed. Okay? So, again, it was my responsibility to remove opportunities to blow up the game plan and blow up the game. All right? So, and furthermore, we had names for these plays. These 3 run plays were called tanks. Why'd you call them a tank, Steve? Because I explained to my football team, these running plays run against anything. Okay? They run against anything. Therefore, we call them tanks. What were the pass plays called? They're called jets. They fly against any coverage known to man. We don't really care. They're just progression reads. And the quarterback goes 1, 2, 3, and that's the end of the football play. And it happens lightning quick. And the chances of something catastrophic happen have been reduced to near zero. Not zero, but near it. All right? So these are things that you learn, that I had to learn, and I had to learn. Let me tell you something. I've learned some hard lessons, some really, really hard lessons. And I'm going to give you, and there's another section of the game plan called KYP. I'm going to tell you a real personal story here. And this is Steve Logan calling the plays, okay? And this happened 30 years ago. We were in the midst of a magic season at East Carolina University. I was the play caller, 1991. And midway through that season, we're playing Virginia Tech. And we had lost one football game and maybe won 4, 5, 6 in a row, something like that. And it was a big deal. We were rolling. Virginia Tech was really, really good, as usual, on defense. Hard to crack, man. Bud Foster, defense coordinator, great guy, great coach. So here's the deal. And again, all of these blown up football plays that have happened to me over the years of 35-something years of calling plays, all right, all of the bad plays are fresh in my mind to this day. I have to go searching for some of the good calls that I made. And obviously I made more good ones than bad ones because I stayed employed for a long, long time. And I'm not breaking my arm, patting myself on the back. I'm just explaining to you the gravity and the responsibilities that come along with this idea of being a play caller. Virginia Tech, left hash, 32-yard line. I think we're down by 3 points, something like that. We were in field goal range. This was late third quarter in my mind, early fourth. We're getting down into, it's getting late, okay? And it's third down and maybe 2, left hash. I'll never forget it. And I called an off-tackle power play, and I'll give you every piece of information on this football play from 30 years ago. I made the call, and I called an off-tackle run play behind a right tackle named Nick Wilson, who was a great kid, and he would fight and fight and fight, but Nick had very limited capabilities as a one-on-one blocker. I knew that. We knew that. Everybody knew that. And I called a critical play on 3rd and 2 behind Nick Wilson against probably an NFL-type defensive tackle from Virginia Tech. How'd that work out? And let me tell you something. The moment that play came out of my mouth and we were breaking the huddle going to the line of scrimmage, I'm in the press box. I can see it right now in my mind. I'm saying to myself, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? We handed the football off, just an old school I formation power football play to gain 2 yards on 3rd and 2. All of that's legitimate. That's presentable. It's defensible. And we got hit in the backfield. That thing blew up like a hand grenade. And it's 4th down. I can see it in slow motion. Then guess what? We went out and missed a field goal. Or it took us out of field goal range, one or the other. But it was a catastrophe. And the game basically was over at that point. Then what happened? A miracle happened. Our free safety intercepted a pass and went back 100 yards to put us back in the football game. We got the football back. And guess what? Steve Logan, the same idiot that just about cost us a game, you know, I damn sure didn't run the football the rest of the game. We threw the football, went down the field, won the football game. And here we go. We went in the locker room at the end of that deal, and everybody is having the best time of their lives, and I went into a back room and absolutely fell apart because of what almost happened. Nobody knew it but me. Nobody knew it but me. You want to be a play caller? We'll take a break. I'll try to recover. We'll be right back.
If
If you're concerned about your home security in Wilson and Rocky Mount or any part of eastern North Carolina, High-Tech Communications has merged with SCI Technologies. This collaboration brings a variety of products and services that do more than keep your home or business safe. They differentiate themselves through their service and commitment to providing you the most reliable and cost-effective system for your individual location. Security systems can be installed for as little as $99. Google SCI Technologies for security, life safety, and home automation. It's SCI Technologies.
Hey folks, this is Coach Steve Logan. My friends at Dogwood State Bank are pirates, and they are changing the landscape of community banking. That term, community banking, is not just a catchy slogan for Dogwood State Bank. They really are redefining what it means to bank local. Big banks may want big business, but Dogwood State Bank wants your business no matter what the size. At Dogwood, your business is big business. Dogwood State Bank has offices in Greenville, Morehead City, Wilmington, Raleigh, Sanford, Fayetteville, and Charlotte.
Member FDIC.
Greenville Utilities customers should be proud to know that their electric, natural gas, water, and wastewater utilities are owned by the community. That means decisions are made locally, not in some other city or state. It means the utilities are run in the best interest of the community, not to make profits for out-of-state shareholders. It means reliability is high while rates remain low. Greenville Utilities, safely providing reliable utility solutions for the Greenville region since 1905.
Need to insure a boat in Edenton, a business in Elizabeth City, a car in Greenville? How about a farm truck in Mount Olive or a home on the Outer Banks? Weatherly Insurance Agency, an independent insurance agency with 6 locations in eastern North Carolina, is here to help. Weatherly Insurance Agency has agents you can get to know because they're your neighbors and live in your town. Call today, 252-756-9900 or on the web at weatherlyinsurance.com. From the Outer Banks to the Inner Banks, Weatherly Insurance has you covered.
After selflessly serving in the military to protect our country, our heroes often bear the burden of debilitating neurological damage from traumatic brain injury or post-traumatic stress disorder. Every day, 18 veterans take their own lives. But there is hope. HBOT for Heroes is a nonprofit committed to making groundbreaking hyperbaric oxygen therapy available to veterans. Find out more at hbotforheroes.org. That's HBOT, 4heroes.org. And look for HBOT for Heroes soon in Jacksonville near Camp Lejeune.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Everybody loves Tiebreakers.
Fall is a great time for broadcast weed control. Let Eastern Turf Maintenance give your lawn the attention it needs and keep winter weeds out of your yard. When the Pirates come out to compete, they want to make sure their field is ready too. Eastern Turf Maintenance maintains the field for ECU, and they can do the same for you and your lawn. Contact Eastern Turf Maintenance today. Go to etmlawncare.com for all the information. That's ETM for Eastern Turf Maintenance, lawncare.com.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Getting set to wrap up hour 1 here of the Logan Zone. But first, before we get back to Coach Logan, I want to tell you about Bill Clark Homes. Bill Clark Homes has always been there for ECU, and they can continue to support year after year because Bill Clark Homes continues to build quality homes and neighborhoods in both the Greenville area and the Wilmington area. And whether it's Greenville or Wilmington, you can choose your school district with several homes under construction and available in both markets. Eastern North Carolina's premier home builder, Bill Clark Homes, building family traditions. We are going to get to Jim Zoki at the top of the hour, but we got a few minutes left before we take our final break of the hour. So now I'm going to toss it back to Coach Logan.
All right, back in the Logan Zone, talking about play calling. So, you know, in the last segment, I kind of gave you some more things to think about calling a football play and everything that's involved. And, building a game plan, putting a play in, there's a lot of gravity involved. And you say, boy, Logan sure is being dramatic. And I'll repeat myself. It is dramatic. It matters. Every single thing matters. Okay? And so, when you're building a game plan, you've got vertical field, you've got down. Everybody talks about down and distance. That's just that's part of a game plan. It's a big part of the game plan, particularly third down. Okay, third downs are broken down for Steve Logan. It was third down and 1 to 2 was a category. Third down and 3 to 6. Okay, third down 7 to 10. Third down 11 plus. Okay, so you had to have 4, 5, 6 football plays ready for each one of those situations. So you got down and distance. Did you know that if you're going to be a play caller, you want to know the next thing you better be? You better be a weatherman. You better know what the weather's going to be. You better check the wind. You need to know where the sun is, particularly if you're a special teams coach. Where is the sun if you're going to play an afternoon football game? How does it affect your punt and kick returners? There's another one of the 1 million things you better be thinking about when you're preparing your football team. You better have a KYP, part of your game plan. Know your personnel, which I just spoke to. I knew my personnel on the previous situation I just described. I knew my right tackle wasn't a good run blocker, and I put him in a vulnerable situation. That's my fault. That gets back to that thing, the leadership. When I'm talking to corporate groups about leadership, I never knew that I was doing this to myself, but then I ran into it when I'm a big fan of reading and researching the Navy SEAL adventure. Navy SEALs, what are they? I mean, these guys are completely not from this planet, how they go through, what they do, how they do it. But they have instituted into their lifestyle something called extreme ownership. What is that? Extreme ownership. What does that mean? It means that when something happens, it's your fault. Let that marinate. It's your fault. 100% your fault. And I kind of operated that my whole football life, which helps you become good. It also puts you in a mental institution because there's a lot of things that can go bad on any given football play. So, again, talking about the play calling, let's shift over to the North Carolina State catastrophe. For those of you that didn't watch that football game, here's the deal. I'm going to be general, but generally accurate. North Carolina State is ahead 21-7. They're dominating the football game, first half. I think late in the second quarter, somewhere, there might have been 5 or 6 minutes left in the second quarter, right before halftime. North Carolina State's up 21-7. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just telling you they had control of the football game. They had a third down 3. And they're at the plus 40-yard line, something like that. They come out in 2 wide receivers to the right, 2 to the left, 1 running back in the backfield, a shotgun. And then North Carolina State went into the ever-popular go to the line of scrimmage, let the offensive coordinator look at Duke's defensive alignment, and then everybody on the offense, the receivers, the running back, and the quarterback, are turning and looking at the offensive signal caller on the sideline to get a play call from the offensive coordinator. So everybody's just standing around. North Carolina State's just standing around. Duke is semi-lined up on defense. North Carolina State is waiting for a call. Do you know what the normal snap count is in college football today? The snap count is a clap of the hands. Just clap your hands and the ball's snapped. Nobody's using a verbal snap count anymore at the collegiate level. Well, contingency. What could possibly go wrong? Well, when the whole North Carolina State football team is looking to their left, to the North Carolina State sideline, waiting for a call to come in after the offensive coordinator has surveyed the defensive alignment of the Duke Blue Devils, somebody on the Duke defense clapped their hands. The center doesn't know. He just heard a clap. He snapped the football and it hit C.J. Bailey right in the face. The ball went up in the air, and then C.J. Bailey broke Steve Logan's quarterback coaching rule number 1. What is it? Don't make a bad situation worse. You call any quarterback I've ever coached and say, what's the first thing Steve Logan ever said to you? Well, let's see. You know what? I can hear him over 1 million times saying, don't make a bad situation worse. Throw the football away. Fall on the football. Please, God, just let me punt it. Don't make a bad situation worse. What'd C.J. Bailey do? He's young. He's a fantastic talent. Ball hit him in the face. He's surprised. He looks up. He grabs the football and just throws it downfield. And the only guy that's more surprised than C.J. Bailey is the nickelback from Duke, who catches the ball kind of like a punt. Now, I'm not sure. This happened so fast, and it upset me so bad. I'm not sure if the Duke defender ran it all the way back for a pick six or whatever. All I know is that game turned on a dime. And what was getting ready to be a 28, at the very least a 24-7 game, turned into a 28-14 game, and Duke never looked back. It got worse and worse the longer it went, all through the second half. It fractured. That singular football play fractured. Well, what am I talking about? Here's what I'm talking about. The entire staff, now North Carolina State's been doing this a long time, and hey, that works, and let's keep doing it, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? You better have a contingency plan. There's one more thing that you didn't anticipate. There's one more thing that can blow up, and you didn't have control of it. The entire staff agreed that we could operate that way. Everybody's culpable. Guess what? You got to rethink it. We'll take a break. We'll get with Jim Zoki. The Carolina Panthers won a football game, folks. Amazing.
Hell yeah, we did, Coach.
We'll have a good time with the Panthers.
Fall is hands down the best time at Fish Street Hardware in downtown Greenville. We've got live music, trivia, singo, karaoke, and more to keep your nights lively. Plus, game days are back and better than ever with home and away tailgate parties as we cheer on the Pirates all season long. Make NFL Sunday your new Sunday fun day with brunch at 10, games all day, and doors open until 9. We're also extending our hours on Fridays and Saturdays, now open until 11, with live music from 8 to 11, including monthly full band shows. Stay connected on all social media and come see what all the buzz is about at Hardware this fall.
I want to take a minute here to tell you about Bill Clark Homes. The football stadium, the baseball stadium, the Pirate Club, whatever it is, Bill Clark Homes has always been there for ECU. The reason they can do all of this is because Bill Clark Homes continues to build quality homes and neighborhoods in both the Greenville area and in the Wilmington area. And whether it's Greenville or Wilmington, you can choose your school district with several homes under construction and available now in both markets. Eastern North Carolina's premier home builder, Bill Clark Homes, building family traditions.
There have been many changes in the automotive world. At Phelps Chevrolet, the Phelps boys are here to take care of you. Mike, Daryl, and 4 of Mr. Phelps' grandsons, Wade, West, Allen, and Clay. You see, things at Phelps remain the same. The Phelps team has served Eastern North Carolina for over 50 years. We make your visit easy and fun. We are your neighbors, and that's what neighbors do. Phelps Chevrolet in Greenville. Like Mr. Phelps' great-granddaughter says, come in and get you one.
Hey folks, this is Coach Steve Logan for Walton Academy and Children's World Learning Centers. I've known the Walton family for years. In fact, I coached Chad and Blake Walton in Pee Wee years ago. Walton Academy is a K-8 private school in Greenville on Arlington Boulevard. They also operate 4 Children's World Learning Centers across the city. The Waltons believe school should be a place where kids feel inspired, supported, and excited to learn. I promise you that if the Waltons put their name on something, it's done with heart, purpose, and excellence.
Remember the days when you could go to your favorite butcher shop and get your pork chops or steaks cut just the way you like them? Well, you still can. Acre Station Meat Farm on Highway 32 in Pinetown, north of Washington, is Eastern Carolina's traditional butcher shop. Acre Station is where you can get your order cut the way you want it. The best sausage, bacon, and pork chops and steaks you'll ever taste. The short trip to Acre Station is worth the drive.
At Acre Station, you just get that good, friendly service you just can't find anymore.
I guarantee it's the best sausage and bacon you'll ever eat.
Every business will face risk. What sets you apart is how you manage it. At Flatlands Jessup, our business insurance team goes beyond policies into partnership. We analyze, anticipate, and create tailored strategies to proactively protect what matters most. Whether you want advice on rising costs, consulting on managing your risk, or advanced options like group captives, our focus is simple: keeping your business strong, stable, and ready for the future. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
If you haven't been to Shaw's Barbecue in Williamston lately, you don't know what you're missing. Start the day off right with one of their sausage dogs, old-fashioned cheese biscuits, or any combination of breakfast sandwiches you can think of. For lunch or dinner, get crispy fried chicken, fresh seafood, or, of course, barbecue. You can get pulled, chopped, sliced, even G-Man chopped barbecue. What's G-Man chopped barbecue? Head to Shaw's and ask them. Shaw's Barbecue, West Boulevard in Williamston. Open daily
This
except
is
Sunday.
WRHD, Farmville, Greenville. Powered by the Ritchie Law Firm Injury Lawyers. Ritchie Law is on top of it. Go to ritchielaw.com. That's ritchielaw.com.
And now, you just crossed over into the Logan Zone. From ECU Pirate football to the whole college landscape to basically anything else that's on his mind, Coach Steve Logan's talking about it now.
You don't coach at East Carolina. You don't come to East Carolina. You don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart.
Tweet at Steve Logan Show with your takes or call 252-561-GAME for your spot in the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. Now, here's Steve Logan.
Welcome back into the Week 5 edition of the Logan Zone here on 94.3 The Game and 96.3. Philip Pilkington alongside the host, Steve Logan. We want to thank our sponsors, Bill Clark Homes, Bojangles, and Greenville Utilities, for allowing the show to be brought to you every week with myself and Coach Logan. Now we are joined by the voice of the Pirates, Jim Szoke, and he's also color commentator for the Carolina Panthers. I think, Coach, we'll be talking a little more Panthers with Jim. Is that right?
We're headed for Panther talk right now. Jim, you on the line, baby?
Yes, sir. How are you doing, Coach?
I'm doing really good, man. You had a good Sunday for a change, and it was as surprising. It's kind of sad to say that, but I believe it was as surprising a game. Raheem Morris, the head coach at the Atlanta Falcons, that's who I worked for at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's one of the really good guys in the profession. And personally, I'm rooting for Raheem. But that football game Sunday was an absolute shocker, I believe, around the league. And what was your take on that whole football game?
I thought the Panthers would play better. And they had been on the road the first 2 weeks, so being back at home and just the way they kind of got ready for the week, I thought they'd have a chance. Nobody on the planet Earth, I don't think, saw 30-0 happening. So, a defense for the Panthers that has been much maligned and couldn't stop the run, keep people under 200 yards, let alone around 100 yards for like the last year and a half. So I thought defensively was what it was about, obviously, with the 3 takeaways and a pick 6. Special teams were excellent. And honestly, you and I talked a lot about quarterback last week. The offense was the least important thing, as it turned out, because they just had to keep it on the road because the defense and special teams does a good job.
Well, I'm looking. I watched the game, and of course, my quarterback eyes are watching Bryce Young and this whole Bryce Young journey that everybody with the Panthers is on, and the spotlight that's on this young man. But the first thing, any football coach will tell you, the first thing you've got to do when you're trying to figure out a way to win is the first thing you have to do is not beat yourself. And there is so much to that, and it's a journey that everybody has to take together. And so we look at Bryce Young this last Sunday, and it wasn't flashy. And this gets back to So, Jim, I read a book this summer. I'm going to tie all this together for you. I read a book this summer by Joe Madden, the baseball coach, right? Do you know that name?
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Tampa Bay.
The name of the book is Try Not to Suck. Okay? That was the whole premise of his taking, I believe it was the Chicago franchise to the World Series. And that was what, there's a lot of wisdom in this. When you read the book, Joe Madden I've met Joe Madden. He was down in Tampa when I was coaching Tampa, and I had lunch with him one day. Great guy. But he wrote this book, and the whole premise was he had a rookie come to him before the World Series began, and the kid was saying, Coach, this is overwhelming. I'm just uptight, this, that, and the other. And Madden said to him, there's nothing to this. Just try not to suck. And then Madden goes on and writes a book about exactly just that. What does that mean? It means, okay, just go out there. You don't need to hit a grand slam. You really don't need to steal second. You don't need to stretch a double to a triple. All you need to do is pick the ball up, throw it to first when it comes to you. Try to get a single when you're at bat. Play baseball. Okay? Try not to suck. That's what we're talking about is you don't beat yourself first. And then we may be able to figure out a way to win a game. And you look at what Bryce Young did Sunday. Well, what is it? Was it sexy? No. He's 16 of 24 for 121 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, right? And so,
right.
That's where it has to start. And you just wonder, there's two things I used to say to my football team after a win and after a loss. If we lost a game, I used to talk to them about, what are you going to do about it? When we won a game, I'd tell them, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? And so I'm going to kick it back to you and, what are the Panthers going to do with this thing?
That's the thing. You got to stack wins and keep the formula. And this, too. We talk quarterbacks a lot. The most simple math is if the defense can keep a game reasonable, it doesn't have to be a shutout, but if a defense can keep a score reasonable, it gives even a bad to mediocre offense a chance to put up enough points to win the game. But if you've got a defense that's getting hit for 30-something points, your odds of winning at the pro level are very minimal. So I think that's important. With Bryce, like you said, he didn't do anything to lose the game. And John Fox didn't invent that phrase, but that's what John Fox used to always say is what you're saying, but in a different way, is more games are lost than are won in the NFL. And that's absolutely true. It actually applies to the ECU game, Coach, last Saturday against BYU. I felt like, I give BYU credit, and they may very well have won the game, a competitive game in the fourth quarter, but those two turnovers lost the game. They just did. And so it changed the whole complexion of the game and couldn't get out of that hole afterwards.
Well, I spent the first hour of this show talking about play calling and the gravity of the play calling and the catastrophic things that can take place through a play call, one play call. And I'm not being critical because I was a play caller for too many years, and I've got tons and tons of plays I wish I had back. And I've got, I have to go searching for the good ones that I called. I obviously called more good ones than bad ones because I stayed employed a long time. But the thing that you're talking about, this, just avoiding the catastrophic mistake can put you in position to win. But at the same time, the main thing I thought the Panthers did Saturday was just what you touched on, which is they played complementary football. And, the defense was helping the offense. The offense never put the defense in a short field. The kicking game didn't blow up. And you say, well, geez, why don't we go do that every Sunday? Well, at least now you've got a formula and empirical evidence, which is what I call film. You've got empirical evidence of how the Panthers can at least be competitive for the foreseeable future. So, again, I'm kicking it back to you.
Yeah, I think confidence is huge when that happens because we saw it late last season with Bryce and his confidence. I think over the last 3 games last year, they didn't win all those games, but he had 10 touchdowns and no interceptions. So usually, like last year, we were talking about go look at your Alabama tape when you were good and draw some confidence and knowledge from that. And then the beginning of this year became, well, let's go back and look at the end of 2024 when you were playing really well and kind of dealing the ball. And, the way he needs to play at his best is to be that point guard, distribute the ball and do his part. I don't think he'll ever be a guy that's going to throw, stacking weeks of 300-yard passing games with 3 touchdowns each week. He just needs to run the offense properly and not do things to lose the game. And that's where you're having, again, the complementary football. We've got a rookie kicker out of Florida State who won a kicking battle that went down to the wire, Ryan Fitzgerald. He's made all 5 of his kicks this year, made a 57-yarder last week, and he's figured out these kickoffs where he's got this golf spin on it, where it's got kind of this forward, downward momentum as it's spinning to the ground. And twice, Atlanta dropped the ball and had to recover it and got started at their own 10-yard line on kickoffs. You can fair catch it and bring it out to the 25. So it was amazing watching what special teams could do as far as their part with the complementary football.
Well, the other thing that was amazing, for your weekend, you saw the catastrophe that you referred to on the coming out play with East Carolina BYU, the interception. And I diagnosed that in the previous hour, and without casting blame, there's enough, that's not the idea of this show. I'm just trying to explain to people the gravity and the repercussions of play calls and things that can go wrong that you never anticipate. But you're talking about, the Panthers going out there and avoiding that thing, but you sat right there calling the play, and you saw a professional quarterback, first-round draft pick, making millions of dollars, Michael Penix, do exactly the same thing that you saw a college quarterback do the night before. He threw a football to the wide side of the field. The college game, it was the short side of the field. Doesn't matter. You're throwing an out-type breaking route down in a coming-out situation offensively, and it's a pick six, and it happened so fast you didn't even have a chance to open your popcorn, right?
Right. Yeah, it was a young quarterback having his worst day, and got to think sometimes he had some success last year. It's only his 6th NFL start this past week. You find success, and maybe you get to where you think you've kind of figured it out, or you're comfortable, or whatever. I did see where they fired their receivers coach, Ike Hilliard, this week, so I don't know if the receivers weren't running the routes quite the right way, or obviously something was out of sync. And I will say this: the Panthers had 0 sacks. They only had 2 quarterback hits, but you know this as much as anybody. Just the pressure. They had consistent pressure on that pocket just to get him off his spot just a little bit. And there was a discomfort you could see with Penix throughout the game where he was maybe throwing it just a little soon or off his back foot. So people look at a box score afterwards and say, well, look, they didn't even have a sack and they only hit him twice. But they did enough to disrupt him, and then the coverage downfield was good. So those things are kind of hidden from a box score that you have to do the eyeball test and see that the Panthers defense did a good job plastering those receivers and making it difficult for them.
Well, you're touching on a million things that are triggering thoughts in my mind, remembrances, I should say. I had Jeff Blake went on to be an all-pro quarterback. David Garrard went on to be an all-pro quarterback. I had another quarterback named Mark Crandall at East Carolina, went to the CFL, won a couple of Grey Cup championships. These were really good quarterbacks, but all 3 of them, when they were young, I used to talk to them. They would go out in their freshman year or their sophomore year and have a bad game, and I would bring them in the next day and show them the film, and I'd say, show me where you were under pressure. And they weren't. They were under, and I said, what you were dealing with yesterday was perceived. Your perception was that you were under pressure. And what you weren't doing is what we agreed upon, that you were going to step through the throwing lane, you were going to pull up through the pocket, you weren't going to flush right, flush left, you're going to pull through the pocket into the, all the things that you're fundamentally working with a quarterback. And you're right. You saw Michael Penix operate in an environment, in his mind, of what's called perceived pressure. And maybe you didn't hit him a time or two, but the results are the very same. And it was just the most dramatic, unexpected event that I've seen. You just don't see that in the NFL, something that big of a turn. And again, I'll throw it back to you, but what in the world? Who did the Panthers play next? Do they play at Washington?
We are at New England Sunday coming up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's at New England. Okay, so it's just going to be so much anticipation for everybody, really. I'm sure Coach Canales and the entire Panther organization. What are you going to do with this? Are you going to draw on it, or was it just a happenstance event? But you just hope that those kids, really draw something from this, and that the coaching staff can use this to go to New England, because New England they are the Panthers right now in a way. They're trying to put it back all together. They're a relatively young outfit. And there's an opportunity there for the Panthers, I believe.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel's the first year as a head coach there. Drake May, of course, in his second year at Myers Park at University of North Carolina. He's actually 5th in the league in passing yardage. So I think it'll be a good quarterback matchup to watch with 2 young guys out there playing. But you're right, New England, they've got, and for Drake May, their offensive line has not been good. They've given up. They gave up 5 sacks last week. And I want to say they gave up at least 7 or 8 in the previous 2. So he's been sacked 13, 14 times in 3 games already. And that's tough for a young quarterback. I mean, you could address that as, there's one thing to try to learn. It's another thing when you truly don't have protection. They did draft Will Campbell at the 4th pick for their left tackle position, but just collectively, they've not done a good job. And his skill position guys are not great. They brought in Stephon Diggs, who's off a torn ACL last year, and he's, approaching his mid-30s. And the best player is probably Hunter Henry, the tight end, as far as throwing the ball to somebody out there. But I feel bad for Drake May a little bit that he's kind of putting it together without really having that support personnel around him. They'll probably get it right eventually. But I think with Bryce, they've got a good running game with Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle. He's got some good receivers when everybody's healthy. Offensive line is pretty good. So I feel like Bryce has a little bit more surrounding him to give him success, whereas Drake May, probably they need another season to get things around him.
Well, let me circle back to something you mentioned that I was unaware of. So the Atlanta Falcons, this week, they fired their wide receiver coach. Is that accurate?
Yes, that was their solution to what happened with the 30-0 loss.
Well, this gets right back to the first hour of the show. I was talking about play calling. And, why did the offensive coordinator call that? And, if you back that up from all the way from when the call was made in the press box, okay, at some point, everybody in the entire offensive staff room agreed that this was a good call at this time, or it wouldn't have been called, okay? And so all of a sudden something blows up, and then here's this and here's that, and you end up, as a wide receiver coach, you end up out of a job. And I had 8 years of professional football, and I can tell you that, if there's a constant stream of miscommunication, it doesn't have to be constant. It just has to be maybe 2 or 3 times. There's going to be some immediate action taken from management. There's just too much money. There's just too much pressure to go out there and run a wrong route, and all of a sudden you're trying to train. If that's what happened, to Michael Penix, right? Then
right.
You could destroy a franchise quarterback. And so, I'm going to make a couple of phone calls to some of my moles that are still in the NFL and see really what was going on there. But that brings back some more scar tissue for me, because I've seen that up close and personal. There's a lot of accountability at the NFL level. So, well, look, Jim, I know you pulled double duty last week, and so you got to kick it in gear again for tomorrow night. Real quick, I pulled up the Army games, and Army, they should not have lost to Tarleton State. They got the officials took the game just literally. It was a criminal offense what the officials did to Army during that football game. That's another story. They lost the game. But then Army goes out and beats Kansas State, and then boom, they could have, should have won the North Texas game, but didn't. But the point I'm making is Army, they don't have Captain America at quarterback, but they do have a young quarterback that throws the ball as well, or no, he throws the ball better than any Army quarterback that I've seen in the last 10 years. He's young. He's not a killer in the triple option, but he's effective. And in your studies, getting ready for the game tomorrow night, what do you got for that?
Yeah, and they've gone back and forth between Dwayne Coleman, 10 you're talking about, and number 3, Cale Helms. They both have had their moments. Helms is the one that beat K-State and had the bigger game, and he ran 41 times in that game. And then Dwayne Coleman came in last week, and he came in and in relief of Helms, got a couple turnovers, and he threw for 100 yards, but again, that was a partial performance there, so he didn't have a full game of playing. So I think we'll probably see both of them. I think they're still trying to figure out which one they like. They both have had their moments and both have some of their deficiencies. And you're right, nobody's going to be Bryson Daly, who they had last year, who was, I think, 6th in the Heisman voting at the end.
Right.
But they're good. They don't commit penalties. They've only had 8 penalties in 3 games. They do turn the ball over. That's probably been the biggest surprise of what's gone wrong so far. But I will say this. Watching their game against North Texas, which was a shootout that went to overtime, they did not stop the run. So I'll be interested to see how much ECU tries to start with that and make it more about that. We tend to throw the ball all over the field, but this could be a week where they can just run the ball on these guys, because North Texas was just running up the middle against them with very little resistance.
Well, that'll be again, I've talked about playing the academies, and the one thing that always stood out anytime you play an academy football team is the mismatch that you have invariably when you play an academy is your wide receiver on their corner. They rarely have corners that can play the deep third, the deep takeoff route. They just don't. And everybody in the American Athletic Conference has a couple of wide receivers that are knocking down 4.40s. And so it'll be really hard for a spread offensive coach, like I was, to look at the film and go, you know what, we could run the football, but what I really do best is throw the football. And so that's going to be an internal conflict for the play caller to look at that North Texas film and say, geez, Pete, we need to run the football. Well, just be careful. I'll tell you what you have to do. If you fall behind the wishbone, you're going to get beat, because in most college football games, you should have somewhere between 10 to 13 possessions. In a wishbone offense that's executed properly, you may only have 9 possessions in that football game. And I got news for you. You better score. And you better score first. And you better keep it that way, or that wishbone offense, it's a death by 1,000 cuts, and that'll be really interesting to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, you've got to win first and second down. You don't want to get them in third and short, because they'll probably pick those up. So if you can win first and second down and make it 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, it gives you a better opportunity to not let them convert. And to your point, Army is 3rd in the nation in time of possession. They possess it for almost 36.5 minutes per game. So even in those losses, which they're 1 and 2 through 3 games, they really do possess the ball. And that's, as you say, that's traditionally how they play.
Well, I'll tell you something else to look out for tomorrow when you're calling this game. And this brought back a lot of memories, too. I've made mention, I coached the wishbone at the University of Colorado. I was involved deeply in that offense for 2 years in what was now the Big 12, used to be the Big 8. But here's the other thing to look out for, and it happened in the K-State game, I think probably 4 times. 3rd down and 3, Army is an expert at managing that. But if they go 3rd and 3 to 4th and 1, don't call your punt return team, because they ain't punting. Nope. They will go for it on fourth and short. Anytime they're outside the 35-yard line, their own 35, they'll go for those 4th downs over and over and over, and it is maddening the number of times they're successful with that, and it can be a spirit breaker, and that'll be interesting for you to call that, tomorrow night, and be aware of that and see if they maintain that mentality.
Yeah, it's a great point, Steve, because they're 2nd in the nation on 4th downs in conversion. They're 10 out of 14. 10 out of 14, 71%.
Nobody in the world has gone for 14 4th downs with 4 games into the season, right?
3. They've only played 3.
Week 3. Okay. Jim, I appreciate you coming on, man, and hope you call a victory tomorrow night and another one Sunday, okay?
Appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
All right. Jim Zoki, voice of the Pirates, does the color for the Panthers. He's all over the place, man, and does a great job with it. All right, we're going to take a break, and we will be looking for phone calls in the next segment, 252-561-4263. Give me a call. I'll talk to you about anything.
Your vehicle packs a load of safety features to protect you in an accident. At North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance, it's our job to protect you just as well after an accident. With fast claims service from local agents, our auto coverage is a lot like an airbag. We hope you never need to use it, but we're right there and ready just in case you do. North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance, helping you is what we do best.
In Greenville, call 252-756-3165. That's 252-756-3165.
Is your pharmacy fumbling when it comes to customer service, prescription fills, compounding, medical equipment, and enteral intravenous therapy? Perhaps it's time for you to allow HealthWise Pharmacy to score a touchdown in regards to your pharmaceutical needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, HealthWise Pharmacy puts you and your health first, offering top-of-the-line customer service, individual attention, and free prescription delivery to anywhere in Pitt County. HealthWise Pharmacy, 615B Memorial Drive in Greenville.
As fall approaches, two things come to mind: football and cooler weather. This is Rachel Davis with Advanced Mechanical Heating and Air. We wanted to thank you for the trust you have put in us this summer. Before you know it, cooler temperatures will arrive, signaling winter is on the way. Don't wait. Prepare now for colder temperatures by scheduling a tune-up. Give us a call today at 252-355-9191 or visit our website, advancedmechnc.com.
Your roof has seen its better days. During a really hard rain, you get a leak. Call a roofing contractor, and before they look at it, they say you need a new roof. Well, maybe you do, or maybe it can be repaired and last for a few more years. Whichever the case, Langley Roofing will give you an honest assessment. Whether it's commercial or residential, Langley Contracting will get the job done with their own employees. That's why you get a 25-year warranty. Easy number to remember, 252-214-ROOF. That's 214-ROOF. Langley Contracting, 214-ROOF.
Are you unhappy with your smile? Doctors Bowman Paget and Associates can help you with state-of-the-art procedures to get your smile game day ready. Bowman Paget and Associates agree that dressing up like a pirate for game day is one thing, but smiling like one may not be the way you want to go. Schedule your appointment at bowmanpaget.com. That's bowmanpaget.com or call 252-752-1111. Doctors Bowman Paget and Associates.
We are the Denison ECU. Hey!
If you're concerned about your home security in Wilson and Rocky Mount or any part of eastern North Carolina, High Tech Communications has merged with SCI Technologies. This collaboration brings a variety of products and services that do more than keep your home or business safe. They differentiate themselves through their service and commitment to providing you the most reliable and cost-effective system for your individual location. Security systems can be installed for as little as $99. Google SCI Technologies for security, life safety, and home automation. It's SCI Technologies.
Locals know, visitors discover, and everyone's welcome at Caribsea and Emerald Isle. Stop in for the handcrafted cocktails, stay for the live music and rooftop views at the Torpedo Lounge. Caribsea's menu features fresh seafood, hand-cut steaks, and the famous baked crab cakes locals swear by. Caribsea is the only spot on the island taking reservations with plenty of space for your crew. CaribseaRestaurant.com. For date night, family dinner, or a relaxed evening with friends, it's Caribsea and Emerald Isle.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Welcome back into the Logan Zone. We want to thank Jim Zoki for being on. We are taking your calls for the rest of the show up until 7 o'clock. We do have a pair of callers on the line right now. But before we get to them, we do want to thank our premier sponsors one more time: Bill Clark Homes, Bojangles, and Greenville Utilities. It's week 5 of the Logan Zone, Coach. It's hard to believe it's already week 5, and we got a handful of callers here in week 5. Proud of our fans for calling in.
Yes, sir. I'm fired up to talk to him, and I think first up is going to be Bruce. You are in the Logan Zone. What's up, man?
Hey, sir. How you doing tonight?
Great. What you got?
Here's my question. I'm sure you're still in contact with all the folks in the NFL. Do you see them changing anything about the way they're grabbing hold to these quarterbacks straight out of college and throwing them out there on the field without allowing them to actually sit back a few years and learn? Kind of like I call it the Baker Mayfield experiment, where he went several places and they kept trying to throw him in there. He finally learned it. He appears to have it now, which I've always thought was the best way to do it. What's your thoughts on that? That's all.
Bruce, there's exactly one franchise left in the NFL that is working the quarterback system old school, and that is the Green Bay Packers. And it should be a lesson for everybody in the NFL. For the Green Bay Packers, if you'll examine what they're doing, they've got enough balls, intelligence, and patience to ride Brett Favre as long as you can ride him, draft before it's time, draft another quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, and he sits on the bench for 3 seasons and gets an idea of how to be a pro, how to handle a locker room, how to play a professional football game. Brett Favre leaves. Aaron Rodgers walks in the door. There's not even a blip on the radar. They're still effective and dynamic on offense. And Aaron Rodgers is rocking along, and Aaron Rodgers has easily 2-3 years left. That you can tell he's got good years left. What did the Packers do? They drafted Jordan Love. And Jordan sat on the bench for 2 years, and Aaron Rodgers leaves. Jordan Love walks in the front door, and they don't even blink. That should be a lesson, but I don't see anybody else in the NFL behaving exactly the way that you're framing your question. The new model seems to be this, just what you're talking about. Draft the rookie, throw him out there on the field. It's like taking your little toddler and throwing him in 12 feet of water at the deep end of the pool and say, hey, let's see if you can swim a little bit. And maybe he can swim a little bit, but basically he takes on water and almost dies. And so you jerk him out of the water and you throw him over to another franchise, and he figures out a little bit more and a little bit more. And all of a sudden, a good quarterback emerges by the time he's been traded twice, which is exactly Baker Mayfield. Hey, Philip, wasn't Baker Mayfield on the Carolina Panthers roster a couple of years ago?
He was, and they tried to turn him into a West Coast quarterback, and that did not go very well.
Well, there you go. And so, Baker Mayfield, and correct me if I'm wrong, he was drafted as a rookie to the Cleveland Browns, and he took them to the playoffs. And then things went sideways, and they got rid of him. But anyway, Baker Mayfield, who I'm a big fan of Baker Mayfield. I don't know him from Adam's house cat. I'm watching him from a distance. I love the way he plays. I love the chip on his shoulder. I love the toughness that he exhibits. Okay? And guess what? He's turning into a franchise quarterback for Tampa Bay. Here's another name for you, Geno Smith, West Virginia. I forget where Geno went into the NFL, but it was just a complete car wreck. Okay? One thing leads to another, bang, bang, bang. And he went to Seattle. I think he's with the Raiders now. He's a really good professional quarterback, but it takes this. Again, the new model is draft them, throw them into the deep end of the pool. They don't work out, trade them. Go. Let's start the cycle all over again. Okay, so what I'm speaking to is this. Let's just think about Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott's one of he may be the highest paid player in the NFL right now. Okay, do you want to know who the Dallas Cowboys should draft next year? And it's painful to do it. They need to draft a quarterback and have him under Dak Prescott. What is Dak? I don't know. What has he got? 3, 4 more good years? He may have 5, 6 years left. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But you better start putting somebody in there, and you're going to have to, you're going to have to pay a premium price. And this impacts your salary cap. That's the difficulty of doing it the old school way. You've got your starting quarterback's going to eat up 22 to 28% of your salary cap. Patrick Mahomes, okay, Dak Prescott. So you say, well, go get another quarterback and make it a first-round draft pick while you're at it. Okay, well, let's do that. Well, suddenly you've got somewhere you're knocking around 38% of your salary cap in one room. And you damn sure better get a corner and a pass rusher and a pocket pusher and a great left tackle. And by the way, you need a number 1 receiver that can beat man coverage all over the field. See where I'm going with this? So it's not as cut and dried as Steve Logan's trying to paint it, but at the same time, the Green Bay Packers have done it. And so that's what general managers get paid for. You got to find a way to split that money up and keep your football team healthy at 23 positions. Okay? 24 positions actually. You got to pay a punter and a kicker. And they've got to be healthy from the standpoint of being able to go out on Sunday afternoon and actually win a football game for you. And it's a tough nut to crack. I will be the first to tell you. I sat in too many draft meetings at Tampa Bay and San Francisco to the point that you just want to take a cyanide capsule to get you out of the misery, because those meetings go on forever and ever and ever and ever about putting your roster together and where you're going to make a sacrifice and where you're going to make a commitment. And guess what? The quarterback room, the quarterback room, the quarterback room. So, Bruce, there it is. There's the Steve Logan commentary on your question. So we're going to navigate away from that. And Philip, do we still have Tom on the line?
Yep, we do.
Tom, you're in the Logan Zone. You're up next. What you got, man?
Hey, Coach, thanks for taking my call. I got a quick question about the ECU play calling. For instance, in the BYU game, our running back, he ran it for like 18 to 20 yards. Then they rush back up to the line. They give it to him. He don't have time to catch his breath, and bam, he loses about 3 to 4 yards. As a head coach, if he's ran it that far, 18 to 20 yards and got a first down, would you not maybe let him breathe a little bit, maybe throw it, or what's your opinion on that?
Well, Tom, that's a good question, and there are several aspects to that question. In the NFL, I was a running back coach in the NFL, and in the NFL, if we had a running back have an explosion play of, let's say, 20 yards, he had the right and the responsibility to take himself out of the game if he felt like he wasn't going to be fresh enough for the next snap. He would tap his helmet. And I was always on the sideline in the NFL. I was never in the press box. So if he tapped his helmet, I had a running back right next to me, and we sent him in for the next play to give my starting running back a chance to recover. That's a thought on what you're referring to. Let me give you the other thought. Part of the philosophy of spread offenses, and it's being exhibited at East Carolina. North Carolina State does it some. Ole Miss, which is where the East Carolina coach came from, Ole Miss, anytime there's an explosion play, part of the offensive philosophy is to run, get on the ball, and snap the ball again as quickly as you can. Why? Because the defense is disoriented, and they're not going to get lined up properly. That's the good news. And I used to have staff meetings about this, and I used to have coaches on my staff that were advocates of that idea, and they wanted me to do it all the time. And I would always say to them this: yes, you're correct. They won't get lined up right. My question to you is, when they're not lined up right, who do we block? Marinate on that for a minute. If they're not lined up at all, and we run to the line of scrimmage and snap the football before they ever get lined up, I don't know what to tell my right tackle. I don't know what to tell the left guard. We're just going to simply call a play, and obviously it will be a zone-type blocking play, but even in zone blocking plays, you still have to have a mic identification. The middle linebacker's got to be identified, and you've got to have your double teams organized, and so you know who you're double teaming up to. And so if you run to the line of scrimmage, and again, this is just, look, we're in the Baskin-Robbins ice cream store right now. I want everybody listening to me to understand I'm not the know-it-all. I'm not being critical at all. I've seen offenses run to the line of scrimmage, snap the football really quick against a disorganized defense, and lo and behold, that ball goes all the way down the football field for a touchdown. I've seen that. I get it. I salute it. Hell of an idea. We're in the ice cream store right now. You chose chocolate chip, and you like it, and it satisfies you. I'm on the other end of the aisle down there, and I chose vanilla, and I like it, and it works for me. So, I'm illustrating that just to make sure that I don't come off as, well, that's a stupid idea, and here's a better idea. No. I've sat in too many staff meetings. I've got too many battle scars on me. There's lots of good ideas that I would never do. And there's a lot of ideas that I've had down through the years that I've had people going, Logan's driving me crazy because he does this. But I find a way to make that work for me and my players and the abilities of the players I happen to be coaching. And that gets to another conversation is you've got to adapt to what you've got to coach. And it can change your philosophy depending on what kind of quarterback, running back, offensive line you've got available to work with. So, again, it's a never-ending conversation, but that's the comment on two levels, what you're talking about. The running back at the professional level was responsible for taking himself out of the game. I wasn't going to take him out of the game. I was coaching an all-pro running back, Carnell Cadillac Williams from Auburn. I coached Carnell for 2 years. One of the best running backs in the NFL. He kept me employed. Carnell, look, you need a break, tap your helmet, come out. I got another guy, put him in for one play. You get your breath, you're right back in, here we go. That's routine business in the National Football League. And I got news for you. In the National Football League, they pretty much know what they're doing. They do. It's the highest art form of that particular sport. There's no doubt about it, man. All right, we're going to take a little break. We got one more segment coming up after this. Looking for a phone call. I do want to comment on North Carolina State and their predicament and their next opponent, Virginia Tech. Big news out of Blacksburg. Unbelievable news coming out of Blacksburg this week. And we'll comment on that. We'll take a phone call from any and everybody that wants to join in. 252-561-4263. Take a break and be right back.
It's bow time. The Pork Chop Griller is back at Bojangles for a limited time. We know you missed it in all its tender, marinated glory, and how could you not? Because when you take a juicy, mouth-watering pork chop and sandwich it on a flaky, made-from-scratch buttermilk biscuit, it's not a flavor you want to say goodbye to. And don't worry, if it could talk, we're pretty sure it would say, I missed you too. Get to the nearest Bojangles and order yours today. It's bow time.
Hey, Pirate fans, take a trip, consolidate debt, update your home. Whatever you're planning, a personal loan up to $5,000 can help. Coach Logan here from my friends at National Finance Company. With NFC, you can get cash now. Loans up to $5,000, same-day cash, and fixed monthly payments. If you need to borrow money, trust the company that has been helping Carolinians for more than 50 years. National Finance Company. Apply at any of their 24 North Carolina locations or at nfcmoney.com.
When making decisions on your insurance coverages to protect your most valuable assets, First State Insurance Advisors is here to help. When you choose First State, you are working with people you can trust right here in Eastern North Carolina. Clark Stallings and his team provide knowledgeable advice with excellent service. Whether you're protecting your family with life insurance, your home and auto with personal coverage, or your business with reliable commercial insurance, First State Insurance Advisors has you covered. We would be honored to become your trusted choice agency.
Hey folks, Steve Logan here. Hot or cold, Wilson Roads Heating and Air Conditioning has been in the keeping you comfortable business since 1961 on Hooker Road in Greenville. Steve Rhodes, second generation, gives each customer a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Wilson Roads is an independent trained comfort specialist dealer specializing in new installations, home replacements, and service agreements on all makes and models. Go online at wilsonroads.com and finance up to 60 months on qualifying equipment. Hot or cold, get the job done right. Wilson Roads, you'll be comfortable in no time.
They say nothing is so strong as gentleness. At Michael and Russell Law Firm, they agree. Gentleness is not weak. It's a deeper kind of strength that's empathetic and kind. It's why they specialize in law that puts families first. Their team offers leading expertise in collaborative law, adoption law, juvenile family law, litigation, and appellate family law, all backed by an effective, gentle approach.
I'm Ashley Michael. And I'm Ashley Nicole Russell. We know this journey is hard, and we're here for you.
Capital Subaru of Greenville invites you to fall into savings with a new 2025 Subaru Crosstrek Premium lease for only $265 a month for 36 months. That's just $8 a day. Also, Capital Subaru has 2025 Outback models with 0.9% APR for 36 months. Whether it's the new Outback, Crosstrek, or any other new Subaru, you'll always enjoy the best sales experience and service. Capital Subaru of Greenville on Memorial Drive, a proud official partner of the ECU Pirates.
Have you been to Jaggers on Memorial Drive yet? I'm a regular at Jaggers, and let me tell you, if you want fresh, not frozen, you need to come to Jaggers. Burgers, chicken sandwiches, all sorts of salads, and the shoestring fries. Oh, I love those shoestring fries. My favorite is the Berry Fresh Grilled Chicken Salad, one of the best salads I've ever had. My grandkids love the burgers and fries and the chicken tenders with the awesome honey mustard and ranch. Everything is fresh at Jaggers. They don't cut any corners. Jaggers on Memorial Drive in Greenville. Also now open in Fayetteville.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Welcome back into the Logan Zone as we get set for our final segment. We are still taking your calls for the next 5 minutes or so at 252-561-4263. Coach, coming out of the last media timeout, last couple drives here, week 5.
All right, final drive. Here we go. We talked about some of the events that happened in the last week with, that really changed football games. The North Carolina State game was let me for our North Carolina State listeners, which I know there's a lot of them living over in eastern North Carolina in particular. North Carolina State was sitting there at 3-0 or 3-0, and they had this Duke game in their hands, and they blew up right in their face midway through the second quarter, as I've already detailed. And suddenly they're 3-1, and so they're going to Virginia Tech, or they're playing Virginia Tech. I don't know where the football game is, but Virginia Tech, obviously, they fired their head football coach, and they fooled around and won a little scrimmage game last week against Wofford or something silly like that. So Virginia Tech basically does not have a head football coach. And this looks to be a winnable game. North Carolina State's favored by 10. And on the surface, they probably should go win this football game. And then they've got Campbell after that. They're going to win that football game, and so they're going to be a 5-1 team, but they should have, could have, would have been a 6-0 football team. Listen to this. At 5-1, or what could have been a 6-0 start, okay? After the Campbell game, they go at Notre Dame. That's going to be really hard. At Pitt, that's going to be hard. They got Georgia Tech at home, definitely going to be an underdog. At Miami, definitely going to be an underdog. Florida State at home, going to be an underdog. And then you've got the University of North Carolina game. So, this whole thing at North Carolina State, where they needed there just was no room for any slippage. But, that's their predicament that they're in, and it's going to take some really, really, strong leadership. They had 3 turnovers in the Duke game, which was the way that they had been winning, was with their quarterback, don't turn the football over, playing okay defense, not great. They've got problems on defense, but they're hustling, they're lined up right. Dave Dorn knows what he's doing. And that was their formula, and it blew up in their face this last weekend, and they've got a hell of a murderer's row coming their way. But that leads me into they're playing Virginia Tech this weekend. Folks, let me tell you something. When I first flew into eastern North Carolina, I'd never been to North Carolina before, and I get flown over here. I got a job at East Carolina, and I get here in the spring of 1988, and the very first year that I coached at East Carolina in 1989, I believe we played Virginia Tech. It was a routine game, East Carolina, Virginia Tech. And all through the 90s, we played almost every year, not every year, but almost. But I know this, that Virginia Tech, when I got to eastern North Carolina, there was not a nickel's worth of difference between Virginia Tech and East Carolina University. The stadiums were almost exactly alike. The fan base was rabid, interested, kind of isolated. Blacksburg, I mean, there's no way to get to Blacksburg, and there's no way to get out of there once you get there. And, you got to want to go to Blacksburg to get there. Same like with Greenville. You got to be going to Greenville, and then you got to, they're just singular bubble-type places. And so Virginia Tech, through great leadership, Frank Beamer, and an athletic director and a president, obviously, in the mid-'90s, got into what was called the Big East, and then they leveraged their way into the ACC. Here's what's amazing. They just fired the guy, Brent Pry, at Virginia Tech, and they've been in a downturn. They really have. The Fuentes coach from Memphis came in there and did okay, not good enough. They fired him, hired Pry. They fired him. Virginia Tech's Board of Visitors will vote on September 30th. That's in a couple of days from now. They're going to approve a $47.1 million increase in athletic spending for this year. They're going to drop it on them right now. Now, they've also hired Bruce Arians, famous Tampa Bay coach, Arizona Cardinal coach in the NFL, who is a Virginia Tech alumni graduate. They've hired Bruce Arians to come in as a consultant to help, organize this pro football. And, this, I'll say this for the 10,000th time to a lot of the listeners and people that I talk with, during the week. And they'll be commenting on college football, and I'm always shaking my head going, this is pro football. It's professional football now. And so, I commented last week on Stanford University when all of this NIL thing started and it was time to, readjust everything. How do you behave? What is this sport we're coaching now? Because it certainly isn't college football we all grew up with. It's pro football. Stanford University, they kind of crossed their arms 2 years ago and went, well, we're not going to do that. We're Stanford. And in the span of 24 months, Stanford didn't even have a conference to get into, and they kind of backdoored their way into the ACC to save their fannies. And as we sit here right now, Stanford University may be the worst Stanford football team I've ever seen in my life because they sat there on their fanny, and they weren't going to do that. We're Stanford. Well, what'd they do? Well, now they're dropping millions and millions of dollars. They hired Andrew Luck to come in as a general manager and all the things that everybody that is realizing you have to do if you're going to play this game. It's not if you want to do it. You're going to do it. Or you're going to go out there on Saturday. If you happen to be in a Power 4 conference and you decide not to participate monetarily, you're going to go out there on Saturday and your university, the front porch of your university, is going to get the brakes beat off of it to the point that the alumni will burn down your house. So, yeah, you're going to get interested. Yeah, you're going to drop some money on it. And so guess what? Virginia Tech, they're going to drop $50 million this year, starting now, September 30th. Get this. They are committing $190 million to athletics, basically football, in the year 2026. Virginia Tech, $190 million. You want to know where that ranks in the ACC right now? Athletic spending in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Athletic spending, number one, Notre Dame, $209 million. Number two, Stanford at $200 million. You don't think they got interested? It's do or die. Number three in the ACC for the year 2026, number three will be the Virginia Tech Hokies. I got news for you, folks. Bruce Arians will be able to, he's going to go in there and consult on this reorganization and teaching Virginia Tech how to become a pro football team, much like what's going on in Chapel Hill, even though Chapel Hill is going through some brutal welcome to the NFL growing pains, just like Stanford is right now. Stanford's a joke right now. So is UNC. They're going through it. Virginia Tech is really a bad football team right now. But overnight, Bruce Arians could make a call to, I don't know, John Gruden. There's that name again. I mean, anybody and everybody in the football industry just became really interested in the Virginia Tech job because it's going to be a humdinger, baby. Number 3 in the ACC at $190 million, ahead of Miami at $183 million, Duke $167 million, and I've already tipped my hat and gave big props to Duke for doing what they did ahead of schedule. I mentioned 2 years ago on this show when all of this began to unfold, I said the biggest fascination for Steve Logan is going to be watching Duke, Boston College, Wake Forest, Northwestern, Stanford, Rice, not Rice because they're not Power 4, but these Power 4 private universities that have always had their nose in the air about we're a little bit better than this, and no, you're not. You're going to get in or get the hell out. That's what's going to happen to you. And Wake Forest is right on the edge of that right now. I'm telling you right now. They're going to have to decide. Okay, and it already cost them their best football coach. So this whole thing, this money thing, Virginia at $162 million, Florida State at $161 million. I want to go back and tell you Florida State's got $161 million committed, and the Virginia Tech Hokies at $190. Whew. Let that marinate a while. I'm telling you, man, times are changing, and it's just fascinating for me to watch and see those that either will or those that at the very least are waking up to what's necessary. It's pro football. That's what it is. Folks, hope you enjoyed the show. And Philip, are we going to do another Wednesday show next week? Is East Carolina playing another Thursday game next week? Is that right, or am I wrong?
No, Coach, it's not next week. It will be each of the following 2 weeks. So it will be the 8th and the 15th of October will be Wednesday shows. We will have a Thursday show next week.
Thursday show next week. All right. We'll see y'all next Thursday. Can't wait. Hang on to your hats. We've got a whole weekend of college football coming up, and everything you thought will change.